Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at how to replace a fuel injector for a 2005 Ford F-150 with the 5.4 liter V8. Now, I am replacing the injector on cylinder 8, so it is a little difficult to film. It's a lot of elbows in darkness. I apologize in advance for that. With that out of the way, make sure you do this in a well-ventilated area. There will be gas leaking everywhere, and wear some gloves. Gas is corrosive to your skin. You really don't want it on your skin for long periods of time. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this is where we're going to be working today to remove a fuel injector. Now, ideally, you want to do all 8 fuel injectors while you're here working, but due to budget and time restraints, we're only going to be doing 1, and they're all exactly the same. So just pay attention and you will get it. The first thing we have to do is look how hard it is to get at the fuel rail, which is right here. It's the silver tube, and there's this evap tube in the way, so we could probably pull that off of there and swing it over, get that out of the way, unplug this electrical connector here, and this tube I think just pulls off. Could be wrong. And then we're going to unplug the fuel injector back there, and then we're going to unbolt it and pull the fuel rail up. This will release fuel everywhere, so yeah, that is how we're going to be releasing the fuel pressure. To get some rags, let it evaporate, don't light a match. It's perfectly fine. Don't do it on a hot engine. This engine's very cold. It's been off for several days, so yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move forward. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is grab this line off the evap line here. Like that. So I got underneath the safety, pulled it out slightly, and pulled the evap tube off. Now it's kind of up and out of the way. The next thing we can do is unplug this electrical connector here on the fuel rail. So you just push down the safety and unplug it, and then this line on the bottom part of the, so you just pull that off, set that tube aside there, and now we need to unplug the fuel injector we will be replacing. Okay, in order to unplug the fuel injector, you reach behind it. There's a little tab on it. You push, and then you pull up. You see that little tab just there? You push that inward and pull it up. And now the fuel injector on cylinder 8 is unplugged, which is the cylinder I'm working on today. Yours might look a little different due to you doing either all 8 or maybe just another one that your trouble code reader told you. Mine's saying cylinder 8 is no good, and I'm pretty sure it is the fuel injector. So, with that out of the way, we can get to the fun part. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is unbolt these 2 bolts that hold the fuel rail in place. They are 8mm. And we'll just gently pull up. Ah, there we go. So the fuel rail, after some tugging, came off. So that's good. And now we need to remove the injector. That is giving us a problem, which for me is in the very back, unfortunately. So that's going to be fun to try to show how to that on film. Okay, so as you can see, I have some rags in place where that fuel injector was. I removed it. It was a little hard to see on camera because I mean it's literally all the way back here. You wouldn't be able to see it on camera anyway, and I know there's going to be a lot of you complaining about it, but best I can do. So when you remove it, you want to make sure that both O-rings come with it. If the top O-ring didn't come with the fuel injector, that means it's still up inside the fuel rail and you need to go get it. Same goes for the bottom O-ring. Both O-rings need to be intact when you remove it. It was a little tricky. You know, they have these, which I think is really stupid. They have these little safeties here that, you know, keep it up wedged on there onto the fuel rail itself, like this. So just trying to pull that off and, you know, maneuver it in such a way that it does in fact come off. It was a little tricky, a little frustrating, but I did get it. I'm letting those rags there absorb all the fuel that is coming off of the fuel rail. This is a great time to mention that I'm wearing gloves because my gasoline got all over my hands. So gloves are a must in this one. All right, so we have our old fuel injector here. This is what it looks like. This is our new one. I'm using a Motorcraft fuel injector, part number CM-5138. There will be a link below in the description to this if you want. I would not use an aftermarket fuel injector. I would only use Ford OEM ones. So we can compare them to make sure they're identical, and they are, which is good. Except for on the old one, there's this little collar piece we need to remove. And we can put this on our new one. There we go. Put that collar back on there. It should look like this. The next thing we need to do is take a dab of clean engine oil here and apply it to the O-rings, both of them, before we take this back over to the car. Just like that. Perfect. And while we're at it, I'm also going to apply oil to the bottom O-ring on the rest of the injectors. Alright, now we can replace our fuel injector. Okay, with the fuel injector replaced, it was really hard to show on camera. I'm terribly sorry about that. Just rocking it back and forth until this clip kind of accepted the fuel rail, and then just put the injectors back into their home, and then pushing the fuel rail back down onto the head, and all that kind of sinks down into place, which is good. And now we can replace those two 8mm bolts we removed earlier. I don't know the torque rating for either of these bolts. I'll make one up for you. 13 foot-pounds. They're small bolts, don't go too crazy on them. And then we need to plug in everything we unplugged. Where that plug went off to, way back here. Alright. Don't forget to plug this sensor back in. And this one. And this one. And the evap tube. That just pushes back down into place real easy like. And there you go. I have the ignition set to the on position, so the fuel pump should have primed at least a little bit, and we're going to check all of our fuel injectors for leaks, not just the one we replaced, but all of them, because we removed all of them basically from the system. So now we can start the truck and see if they really leak. So far so good. Doesn't look like we have any leaks, so we're all good here. If you end up having leaks, then one of those O-rings isn't happy. You're either going to need to replace them or re-lube them. So that's how to replace a fuel injector for a 2005 Ford F150 with a 5.4 liter V8. I will say it was a little tricky getting the injector back into the fuel rail, and basically, the injector comes down like, or the fuel rail comes down like this. And the injector comes up like this, and rocking it back and forth like this while I'm pushing it up is eventually how I got the injector back onto the fuel rail. It's really tedious, it's really frustrating, but if you keep at it, eventually it will get back onto the fuel rail, and then you can put it back into its place and bolt it home. And of course, always check for leaks before you go for a test drive for obvious reasons. Thank you so very much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.